Happy Monday and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about the newest fragrance releases that have been announced over this past week in our weekly rendition of Smash or Pass. This is a series where we talk about the new fragrance releases and evaluate whether or not we want to get them and why. We talk about the notes, the accords, trends that these fragrances might be indicative of, and this is essentially glorified window shopping. So if you're looking to find out about the new fragrance releases that have been announced, definitely keep on watching. But if this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances. I talk about them here every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram, so if you like short form content or if you're interested in seeing some more fashion related content as well, that's on my Instagram and a bit on my TikTok too. And if you are also really interested in fragrance and beauty history, I run a podcast. It's called The Fragrance Report. We launch a new episode of this podcast every Wednesday on Spotify and on YouTube, so definitely check it out if that sounds intriguing to you. And in addition to that, if you're looking to be more mindful about your fragrance consumption, if you want a better way to track what's in your collection, track what you're spending, then I'd recommend you download my fragrance collection log and expense tracker. It's available in my Stan store. So we have a lot to get through, so let's get started. First, we have a new fragrance by J.U.S and Durga. I've seen a lot of press about this, so I was curious to check it out in this video. This is called Cognac Rain, and this is inspired by the founder's early memories of childhood when his partially deaf father would blast Baroque music throughout the house. And as a child, he mostly hated it, but later in college and eventually in his adult life, it became a daily part of his routine. So essentially, this is a quote from the brand: "Cognac is a spirit that has reigned supreme over all of France since its inception in the 16th century. Cognac Rain captures an evening of lully sipping the fine French spirit with notes of caramelized bergamot, violet orris, and tonka beans." So basically, this fragrance has top notes of caramelized bergamot and antique wood, a mid of cognac essence and concrete of orris, and then a base of tonka and limousine oak. Interesting. So yeah, it's supposed to be inspired by cognac or by Baroque music, so it has that kind of dramatic touch of booziness. And I have seen this kind of appear in a few people's PR hauls, and so far I think people have positive things to say about it. It doesn't seem like it'll be a very loud scent. Again, I haven't tried this yet, but it does look promising. I feel like J.U.S and Durga, they're one of those brands I haven't explored to the fullest extent just yet, so if you have, definitely let me know what you think about this as well. There is also a new addition to the Byredo collection. They are adding to their Night Veil collection with the fragrance Bois Obscur Extrait de Parfum. And this is supposed to be mirroring the raw, intimate power that appears only after nightfall. Their newest creation is a slow burning revelation, inviting you to unfold your identity layer by layer throughout the night. This perfume has top notes of eucalyptus, papyrus, and saffron, and heart of jasmine absolute, oud, and tuberose absolute, and then a base of lavender, patchouli, sandalwood, and mineral amber. This sounds absolutely divine. It is a bit expensive. It's priced at €340 for 70 milliliters, so it's kind of like, let's say, mid-tier niche. So it's definitely up there, but it sounds absolutely divine. This would be something I would very much be interested in trying out. Byredo, normally they have scents that to me are, well, I kind of have a mixed feelings about them because I've tried them a few times, and their scent DNA, as in the backbone of a lot of their scents, is a little bit too medicinal musky for me. There's an accord that I don't really love on me when it comes to their fragrances based off of what I have sampled, and I think some of their fragrances can be rather fleeting, but this fragrance seems to be more intense, more lasting than some of those other fragrances, and it just goes to show that everyone has everyone has their preferences, right? Just because I might prefer a fragrance that's slightly more potent doesn't mean that someone else should not enjoy a particular perfume. I have encountered Byredo on a few people, and they really carry it beautifully, but for me personally, I don't think that this is has historically been my style when it comes to a fragrance house just in general, but this perfume is one that I would really be interested in trying out. I'm always open to trying new interpretations and new things from brands, and I feel like this line would be a little bit more up my alley than their usual lineup as well. Gucci has unveiled 4 new fragrances to add to their Alchemist Garden collection. So these fragrances include Muscio Mineralis, Muscio de Luce, Rosa Sublime, and then Rosa Incandense. I'm mispronouncing them very badly, but basically they're supposed to represent the 4 stages of ancient alchemy. The substratum stage, which is earth, the liquidum stage, which is water, the ignis stage, which is fire, and the vaporum stage, which is air. So each fragrance is supposed to mirror that element, and basically these perfumes, if I'm going to break them down, Rosa Incandense includes a top note of salted crystals accord, freesia accord, and pink pepper pure jungle essence, a heart of Damascena rose absolute, bourbon geranium essential oil, and ambergris accord, and then a base of oak moss absolute red seaweed pure jungle essence and orchinox. Then the garden Rosa Sublime includes top notes of pink pepper pure jungle essence, elemi essential oil, all venom essential oil, and incense extract. A heart of Damascena Rose Absolute, Damascena Rose Super Essence, Saffron Accord, Amber Absolute, and Amberlitide Vegan. And then a base of Virginia Cedar Wood Essential Oil, Gayo Patchouli Essential Oil, Namibian Myrrh Resinoid, and Orchinox. These are tongue twisters, y'all. And then Muscio de Luce includes Muscio de Luce. That sounds interesting. This includes top notes of cardamom Guatemala essence, juniper berries essence, and pink pepper. A heart of cedarwood atlas essence, vetiver from Haiti, and sandalwood, and then a base of benzoin gum extract, musks, and ambrox super. And then the last one, Muscio Mineralis, includes notes of pink pepper pure jungle essence, elemi essential oil, and cumin. A heart of Gayo Patchouli essential oil, incense all-venom essential oil, and Vanal Main Innovation. Yeah, I'm struggling clearly. And then a base of bourbon vanilla infusion, bourbon vanilla absolute, bourbon vanilla pure jungle essence, musk accord, and orchinox. Okay, how about you put the entire kitchen sink in the fragrance? No, I'm just making fun. But this sounds intriguing. I will say, the one that will most likely be up my alley is one with juniper berries, which I believe is in the white bottle. And yeah, here's my commentary. I think that designer fragrance brands, when they really go for like their upper crust, kind of more luxe designer lines, they tend to do really well. I think it's really interesting when you have designer brands, or rather upper echelon, higher end brands, come out with bottle designs that very quickly become a signature that you will be able to identify as being from that brand. I think that's really smart, and it helps separate their normal kind of like Sephora Ulta lines from something that's a little bit more high end. So that's really smart on their part. I think that's really intriguing. And in general, this is the line that I would really be interested in exploring further. I'm not super familiar with it. I've sampled a few of them and I really did like them. But this is the kind of fragrance that's supposed to be a bit more of like an indulgence. This is supposed to be a bit more of a treat, and I appreciate that they have a packaging, they have an aesthetic, they have a bottle design that captures that sort of that indulgence. I think this is a really cool release, especially if you like rose. I'm not like super pressed to find a new rose fragrance, so I'm looking at the rose fragrances here, and I'm not too intrigued by those, but I have recently been obsessed with like juniper berries. You guys know this, so the juniper berry one is naturally the one that I am gravitating towards the most. But yeah, I would be open to smelling all of these. Let me know what you think. There's also a new release by Atelier des Dour. They are coming out with a new vanilla fragrance. This is called Novaya Vanilla. Novaya is a Russian word that means new in Russian. That's literally what it means. And I think they're using Cyrillic for the bottle design. Let's see what the brand says. So Novaya Vanilla explores the contrast between light and darkness, opacity and brilliance, silence and vibration, where every note finds its place in a harmony akin to a golden ratio. So basically this will have notes of mineral accord, mimosa absolute, vanilla, bourbon vanilla, infusion of Madagascar vanilla, amberwoods, and musk. This is very explicitly vanilla, which is very much in keeping with what Atelier des Dour has become known for, because Lumphaline is described as the idyllic, like spiced vanilla. So this is very much in keeping with their brand, what sells, what's successful for them. So this is the logical next step. I don't see any explicit ties to Russian culture here, except for the kind of spelling of this fragrance, which if you look at the bottle, that's Cyrillic. That kind of like that's like that second letter after the N, that's Cyrillic. So I'm inclined to think that they're trying to cater towards the Russian market. That is just an assumption. I don't see anything in the marketing brief tying this to their Russian market, but that's what I'm inclined to think. So yeah, it seems interesting. Am I looking for a new vanilla? No. But this is an example of a brand that is recirculating a fragrance note that sells for them, that they're becoming known for. So this is logical. This makes sense from Akivia Dour. And in general, Akivia Dour, if you haven't tried the brand, if you're not familiar with them, they have some really beautiful aesthetics when it comes to their bottle designs. They're nice and heavy. They have gold flakes infused like, in the actual juice. So it's very clearly a luxury and an indulgent experience. So that's what you get with Atelier Dour. In general, they have a variety of different fragrances. They're kind of, I would say they have a good variety. They're not just vanilla. So even if you're looking for something that other than just a vanilla fragrance, they'll have an option for you. But yeah, this is basically a new reimagined version of a vanilla accord from the brand. We also have a new launch by Liis. They are launching a new perfume called Celestial Object, an amber sweet fragrance with top notes of pink pepper and quince, amid of incense, almond paper, and rice, and then a base of tonka bean and lavender. This sounds incredibly intriguing. I will definitely be doing my very best to get my nose on this. I love how rice as a note can be a bit powdery, a bit clean smelling, but it's also very comforting to me personally, so I love to see it in fragrances because I think it adds a unique powderiness to perfumery, and this sounds really intriguing. In general, Liis tends to be a bit more dialed back, a bit more subtle with their fragrances, so when you see notes like incense and amber in their fragrances, such as you see here, I can make the assumption that this is not going to be like a beast mode heavy hitter kind of fragrance. This is just going to be something that's a lighter version of those notes, which if you're trying to experiment with those notes but you're not necessarily looking for anything that's beast mode, could really be useful for you. For me personally, I own one perfume from them. It's called Of True Minds, and that fragrance on my skin, it disappears quite rapidly. So my fix for that is to spray it on like my hair, my clothes. I'm actually wearing Of True Minds right now, so I just sprayed it on my hair, and I think it'll stay reasonably well. But yeah, that's just my experience with Liis so far. But this is a new fragrance from them. Definitely going to get my nose on it as soon as I can. We also have a new launch from Olfatology. I believe they launched this at PT, which is a Florentine fragrance convention that's happening right now. But this is called Pizzuta, which is a tribute to Sicily. This is inspired by the note of almond, and basically this has a top note of bergamot, lemon leaves, pink pepper, and myrtle, and then a heart of almond, cotton blossoms, sugared almond milk, almond blossoms, and salted pistachio, and then a base of cotton candy, tonka bean, vanilla beans, and patchouli. This does sound rather interesting. I personally am not looking for another almond fragrance. Like when it comes to like tonic, milky almond perfumes, I personally think I'm all set with a fragrance by Perfume Differenzi, which is called Latte e Mandorla. I am all good when it comes to an almond kind of fragrance, and that's what I tend to do a lot of. Like whenever I see a new release, I always think about like, what do I have in my collection that's similar. And in this case, that is an iteration of like almond that, in my mind, would be similar to this. Is it the same thing? No. They're probably distant cousins. This is just like an assumption. But I'm also not necessarily looking to fill my collection with different versions of particular notes. So that's just where I'm at. This will definitely be a pass for me. But if you're looking for something new, if you want something that's a gourmand almond, this could be really well suited for your collection. What I did want to comment on is the fact that this fragrance is clearly using AI in their marketing, and I did want to say one thing. I'm kind of like at a middle ground when it comes to using AI for marketing material, because I think that it can really help save costs for brands, but it also kind of forces creatives out of an opportunity. But then again, if a brand wasn't already going to pay a creative for that, it's kind of like, it's a difficult it's a difficult situation, right? You kind of want the brand to be able to create content, but you also want people to still have the opportunity to create content that's like actual, real and tangible and creative. So I will always be someone that values tangible creativity, like actual creativity coming from a person over AI. But I think it's really interesting because this is just a commentary. I've noticed that people online tend to get outraged when it comes to certain brands launching AI material, but then they don't say anything when it comes to other brands launching AI material. It's interesting. I don't think it's fair. I think as a collective, if people have an opinion about something like AI shouldn't be used in brand marketing material, then they should be applying that logic to all other brands that they see. But I've noticed that some brands use AI and people get really vocal about that, and then other brands come out with AI material and people say nothing. And I think this is the case with this. This is not a criticism, it's just an observation. And this is why I think it's important to not jump on the bandwagon just because you want to pile on, but if you have an opinion, if you have a point of view, be consistent with it. And if you choose not to be consistent with it, that's fine. If you want to change your opinion, that's fine. But if you are choosing to align yourself with a particular frame of mind, be consistent with it. Don't just selectively choose which brand or which entity you want to police. That's just my opinion. So that's why I like to say I'm in the middle ground when it comes to AI. I think that there will be a point when it becomes too overdone. And I don't think AI is going to replace actual tangible creativity in the same way. At the end of the day, I think that using AI in advertising is a little bit weird because I'm looking at this advertisement and I'm not necessarily seeing the actual bottle. I'm seeing like an AI image. So it makes me think in my head that I'm paying for something that's intangible when really that's not the case, of course. But yeah, I'm of mixed opinion. But I do think it's interesting how people tend to be selective with their outrage. Especially online. I don't necessarily think that's right. But moving on to a new fragrance launch by a brand that I very much love. This is from NATO. They're launching 3 new fragrances: Pulsation, Chasing Light, and Cloud Essence. So let's break these down. For those of you who are unaware, NATO is a brand that tends to do some really unique blends and really beautiful fragrances quite affordably. So I have a code with them, I have an affiliate partnership with them, I have a few of their fragrances, I'm familiar with the brand, and they do gourmands quite well. So if you're looking for something that's under $100, NATO is an amazing option, but they are launching these fragrances. Let's break these down, starting with Pulsation. So Pulsation has top notes of incense, honey, and sage, a mid of fruity notes, apple and honey, and then a base of ambergris, tobacco, and cedar. They use tobacco a lot in their fragrances. We also have Chasing Light. Chasing Light includes notes of bergamot and tamarind, a mid of orchid, and then a base of ambergris, vanilla, and musk. And then Cloud Essence includes notes of coriander at the top, a mid of rice powder, mimosa, and milk, and then a base of sandalwood, vanilla, and musk. The one that stands out to me the most is one I just mentioned, which is Cloud Essence. I have just been drawn to rice accords lately, and I think this is going to be a really interesting kind of like soft, powdery, musky fragrance, which sounds really enticing. So yeah, in general, Neydo, if you haven't tried them yet, check them out. I think my favorite one from them so far that I have tried is Alien Fruit, one of the most beautiful photorealistic renditions of guava. It is stunning, so definitely check them out if you haven't already, but I'm really excited about this launch, and I think I will be getting at least Cloud Essence because it sounds absolutely divine. Balenciaga are relaunching their perfume line with 10 fragrances, and I actually wanted to comment on this because I found this really interesting. Basically, their 10 fragrances include the following: No Comment Guitarre 24/7, To Be Continued, Mascara, Ladix, 100% Extra, Crystal Ball, and Incense Perfumum. So I just wanted to comment on the fact that it's interesting that they are launching these fragrances in their original 1947 packaging. And I'm mentioning this as a commentary because we all are kind of familiar with the controversy that Balenciaga has been a part of in recent memory. It's something that they're still, I think, trying to get over in some ways, because I think overall they're still in business, obviously, but I think that there is a perception of them which is quite negative because of what happened. And I think it's interesting how they are specifically tying themselves to their history, because like Balenciaga is a house with a long history. They've been around for a long time. And they're not new. They've had a legacy which has spanned decades, almost 100 years. And I think it's really smart of them to tie themselves back to that history instead of tying themselves to events that were more recent. So the fact that they are launching these like decidedly vintage looking bottles not only makes them stand out in the designer fragrance space, but it also makes people think about the history rather than the recent events that have transpired at Balenciaga. I think it's interesting. I think there are multiple layers to this. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But I hope that this inspires more brands in general to be launching fragrances that are inspired by historical fragrance bottle designs. If you are someone who listens or watches my Fragrance Report podcast, you know, or you probably have seen our episodes on the beautiful, elaborate fragrance bottle designs that now are somewhat unheard of. I mean, there are so many examples of absolutely stunning bottle designs that either are not in use right now, out of fashion, or just would be too expensive to replicate. So this is definitely not like a super elaborate bottle design, but it's interesting enough to want to take a second look. It stands out. It's a really effective way for them to kind of break into this new venture, or like kind of reimagine this new venture without seeming like every single other designer brand out there, but at the same time separating themselves from their recent controversies. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if you're willing to check this out. So yes, that's it for this video. Let me know what stood out to you. Are there any fragrances that you have your eye on? Are there any perfumes that you kind of feel meh about? I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!